And this is going to be a little tutorial about how to make monster teeth for SFX makeup. These are both coloured in and white ones, and I'll tell you what to do for each of them. And I'll give you a rundown of all the things I used and my suggestions if you don't have any of those materials. For this, you are going to need modelling clay. It's a oil-based one, which means it prevents drying out as quickly, which is kind of the one you're going to be looking for, but anything like plasticine will also work. Also going to need some toothpicks. They're just, pretty standard, just a toothpick really. For modelling the teeth, I'm using a cup, and if you have a mannequin head, you could also use that as well, and instead just apply the method I'm going to show around the mouth area, and you'll pretty much get the same result. To colour in the teeth, I'm using just a plain white nail polish, and any brand will do. To further colour in any of your teeth, to maybe give them like a yellowy tint or maybe some blood at the bottom, a bit of black rot, I'm using a 99 alcohol activated palette, which I can understand maybe not many people will just have sort of lying around, and you'll also need to get 99% alcohol to actually activate it, to be able to use it. So I would maybe, if you just have something like face paints, and just try and work the rest there. I did try using other products like cream makeup, and it just didn't give it as better look as this did. Okay, to start off with, you're going to take your clay, you're going to roll it, and then you're just going to place it around your cup. Then you're going to blend the edges. Now, I'm going to actually use a smaller tool in a bit, but to start off with, if you don't have a sculpting tool, literally you can just use a spoon. It's fine. It doesn't need to be that professionally done or very neat or anything, so a spoon is fine. And it's going to look a bit rough to start off with, like all this, but it's fine. It's going to come together at the end, and ultimately this isn't going to be like a finished look or anything. It's just to help give us a better idea about how to shape and position our teeth. So yeah, you can continue with the spoon, but I'm just going to quickly go in with a smaller sculpting tool just to help make sure we blend the edges. Now, it's not even necessary that the edges need to look that particularly neat. It's just to make sure that our clay doesn't really move around when we're positioning teeth. And just take a finger and blend it if you want to do that. If you do have 99% alcohol, you could use it to help smooth out the edges, but I wouldn't recommend it because, like I said, it's not going to be a very finished product. This is just to help mold. I'm going to turn it upside down so it's like a bottom lip, but it is up to you what you want to do. I just find it easier to put the markings in this way. Okay, so just moving in a bit closer so you can see, I'm going to be taking, again, my small sculpting tool, but if you have a paintbrush, something like that, that'd be fine. And to help make the indentations of where we're going to put our teeth, just gently pressing it into the clay, like that, sort of pulling it out. And then I'm going to take it like a little small scoop out just to give us almost like a little hollowed area of where our teeth are going to fit. Like that. Again, it's pretty rough and not necessarily biologically accurate, but it's enough to be able to work with in terms of sizing and such. Okay, so I just quickly went in and did a few more to give you a better idea of how sort of the positioning would look. And the closer you are to the edges, the smaller the size of the little indentation should be, and the more you move around to the middle, that will be the bigger in terms of, because you have smaller teeth at the back of your mouth moving around to big ones at the front. Yeah, I know it's not necessarily very biologically accurate, but it's just for what it's going to look like. And it's a monster. I'm using a lot of creative liberty on that. Okay, so just putting your little mold to the side for a second. I'm going to go in and get a small, really, really small bit of clay. And I just do that by getting a big lump, kind of pinching it, and then tearing away. Maybe a little bit more for that. And we're just going to start off with a very small tooth. Yeah, a little bit more than that actually. You really, even though I keep going back for more, you really don't need that much. Maybe just enough to cover, if you flattened it, it'd cover your pinky nail kind of thing. But just small, because we're going to start off with a baby tooth. Because I find it easier to position the smaller teeth and then work my way around from there. Just moving in a bit, just going to take it, roll it into a sort of ball, a little cylindrical-y sort of ball, so not really a ball I suppose, and you're just going to kind of again pinch the tip and use your forefinger and thumb to, while you're getting that little point, sort of push the rest of the clay downwards to the bottom. This will help give it like a kind of curve and make the bottom a little bit more rounded than the top and give that sort of curvature that we're looking for in a tooth. And again, to help make sure you get a good sort of like tooth shape, just thumb and forefinger to kind of give the inside of that a bit of a curve. Okay. Then you're going to put it on a toothpick, like that. And that's the rough shape of the tooth done. Then this is the point where you're going to take your little tooth on a toothpick and you're going to take that white nail polish that I referred to in the beginning and paint it. Now I don't want to go Blue Peter and be like, this is one I made earlier. This one I made earlier. Should have probably dropped it actually. I didn't want to wait for the paint to dry, and also my nail polish is a bit old and not the greatest thing to paint with. So we're just gonna use movie magic, and this has become that. Cool. And if you just wanted the white teeth, this will be where you finished, pretty much. And then you can just fit it in to your mold, and you're just gonna position it. And the best way is, because it's still pretty soft clay underneath the nail polish, it's still gonna be a bit soft, so you don't wanna squish it too much. But as long as you just press it in lightly and start with the base and just press it in, then it should keep its shape. You just gotta be a bit more gentle than you would with maybe, you know, plastic teeth or something. And there. If you want the white tooth, that is you done. However, we are going to continue for those who want to have it painted to give it maybe that bit more of a yellowy, bloody, rotten tooth look. So I've just kept it on the toothpick, plop that sucker into some clay on top of the cup we used for the mold, just so I can have something to look at and know how to position without having to hold it. And like I mentioned earlier, we're going to use 99% alcohol activated makeup palette and 99% alcohol, which I've just popped on the lid, little water cup. And to begin slightly, we are going to start off with a kind of darker red colour. The reason I'm starting off with a darker colour first is just because when I did a test run earlier, it was easy to start with a darker and then put the lighter one at the top. So we're just going to, this is a bit of a big brush, I know, but I prefer it. And you just sort of stipple it around the edges, like so. The thing about 99% alcohol is that it dries pretty quickly, and if you want to just smooth out edges, just then quickly wipe off your brush and start trying to blend down any harsher edges to the base. It'll work pretty quickly, if I'm honest, with this. And then once you've got the first colour on, then you're going to go in with a slightly darker one. And like with the red, sort of stipple it on, but this one closer, a bit more closer to the bottom, like so. This will kind of give the impression of like a tooth that's just been torn from its gums, or is just very inflamed at the bottom. And again, like what I said, with the first one, just kind of quickly wipe your brush off and sort of just to help soften the edges, quickly just stipple round the sides. Now the colouring on this doesn't need to be necessarily perfect, because no one's going to be inspecting it on a really close detail necessarily, and also because the beauty about SFX makeup is that it is a bit irregular, so you can get away with quite a lot. And finally, for the darkest colour, I'm going to go in with just a bit of black, but really, really sparingly. Like just dip your brush in, and this one's going to be pretty near the bottom, like almost under where you've painted. Just enough so you can see just a bit of black peeping out, and to give it a nice sort of bit of gradient. Once again, just wipe off any excess and just kind of stipple that colour before it dries. Now I'm going to be moving in with a lighter colour. I'm going to be using, ideally I wanted a kind of yellowy, greeny, browny colour, but I don't really have one of those, so I'm just going in with a slightly sort of whiter, like yellowish colour. And my palette is pretty messed up from, you know, different mucky colours in it, but it's fine. It gives it a bit of, you know, rustic charm, I suppose. What you're gonna do, start from the top and just brush down. This means that the paint will drip down a little bit onto the colours we've already put. That's okay, because that's gonna help with sort of blending in the different colours. And then you're also gonna take a tiniest, because I wanted to get a bit more of a yellowy colour, I'm literally taking some of this really bright yellow, but like with the black, I'm using it like really barely putting my brush in and just sort of like pressing it occasionally in, really not using it much, just to help give it some more yellowy tinge. Then like with the other colours, you're going to quickly wipe your brush off and try to stipple that lighter colour into the darker ones. You will need to go over the darker ones, but I found this method to work easiest and most effectively rather than start with the pale yellow and then put on the darker colours. And I'm just going to leave it there actually. There you go. That is your colouring pretty much done.